Well, hey, good morning, everybody. This is Justice's Waiting Room, a daily live podcast where we discuss news and politics. There we are. I was like, why can't I see myself as live? Oh, it says video unavailable. Cool, cool. Hmm. There we go. Can you see me, hear me okay? Okay. Sorry, there was an update to OBS. Didn't know there was an update. So, all right. Um, well, let's start out with probably the big one. So, everybody, kind of wondering, um, when are we gonna strike? When is the general strike gonna happen? And I've been seeing a lot of uh content lately where people are, they'll point out something's happened in the news and they're like, okay, when's the strike? And I just wanted to point out, I saw an ad today for Amazon Prime Days between July 8th and July 11th. Um, so for those of you, I don't know if anybody helps organize uh, with the general strike, but I think July 8th through 11th is a great time to have a general strike. A lot of people seem confused and are like, "What do we do?" And it's like, "Well, we've been meeting every morning, haven't we? Right? We've been talking about what's going on in the world, keeping our eye on what's going on, right? So that nothing is really overwhelming. We first of all, we knew a slew of decisions were coming down the pipe yesterday, right? We all we all knew that shit was coming. So there was really no surprises when and I gotta really kind of say it when they get an inch. I really gotta point out when they get an inch how everybody's losing their fucking mind, and it's like, hey, uh, the Supreme Court ruled a lower judge cannot make a nationwide injunction. Like we talked about, they want to make it more difficult for you to sue the government. We talked about it. This will be undone, but for the next few years, uh, the ACLU is going to have to front the fee, right? So what the Supreme Court did was they increased the cost for all these law firms that are fighting this administration. He just increased the cost to sue the government. Hmm. And also, and there are other, I think there are bigger stories right now. I think this win is so small that I think it's a distraction. And I think the real crime, the real thing we ought to be focusing on is what happened in Miami, where the Florida government basically has extended uh, the Florida government has extended the term of basically Republican officials get to stay in office an extra year. Okay, Linda, this is a daily live podcast where we discuss news and politics called Justice's Waiting Room. Hmm. So what I'm doing is I'm talking about the news and politics. But yeah, a lot of people are bent out of shape over what happened in the Supreme Court, and it's like, yeah, but mostly none of us are ever gonna have to sue the government. So I think it's a bigger deal when they're trial running, uh, just kind of skipping out on democracy and extending politicians' term by a year and just kind of saying fucking election. That would be the problem. And you know what the other problem is? The other problem is DHS in conjunction with ICE using explosives on an American citizen's doors because they embarrassed ICE. When ICE was doing a raid, they hit someone's car and they're gonna get ticketed and they're gonna get sued, right? And they retaliated against them by sending 10 ICE officers to their house and using what appeared to be a door charge to blow open their door. And when they got inside, it was a mom and her little kids, and this was in Huntington, like Huntington Beach in LA. So yes, what happened in the Supreme Court? Woo, crazy. What's a bigger deal? What's happened in Miami? What's going on in Huntington Beach? Don't act like I didn't tell you. Like they're just trying to distract you with this little bullshit win, right? Like they're trying to distract you from the fact that Gavin Newsom just sued, I think he sued Fox News, right? Or is he suing Donald Trump? But yeah, a lot of people, oh, what are we supposed to do? What the fuck do you mean? What do you mean, what are we supposed to do? Boycott, protest, and strike. As I've told you, I don't care who you are or why. Do you hear what I said? I don't care who you are, and I don't care what your reason is. Stop using Facebook, Threads, IG, WhatsApp, Messenger, Twitter. Stop shopping on Amazon. Delete those things off your phone. You don't need those anymore. They're tracking you on them. If you're a person, if you don't look like me and you're not listening to me, I don't know why you're here. You're in danger. If you don't look like me, get off those fucking apps. You're in danger. They're tracking you. The sooner you realize this is a daily live podcast where we discuss news and politics. So we're going to be here for the next 80 minutes. Morning, Stacy. But yeah, as everybody rolls in here, we are broadcasting live on multiple channels. So not only are we live over here on TikTok with a few people, we're also live on YouTube. We've been going for about 7 months now, every single day. So welcome. So yeah, I think this is a much bigger story than what I call a little Supreme Court win. Okay, yeah, TikTok is the fucking worst. Mhm. We are currently banned from TikTok. We got banned for a week from me exclaiming, who shows up to protest? Oh, the LGBTQIA plus community. That's who shows up. I've been to several protests here in Indianapolis, Indiana, and what crowd is the same no matter what the purpose of the protest is? Oh, it's the LGBTQIA plus. It's the people that have been fighting for their right to exist their whole lives. I have absolutely no problem getting out and protesting. We got banned from TikTok for saying that. Hmm. Was doing music lives for 4 years. Have you heard of fan base? I bet that they love you over there if you're doing music. But yeah, we shared that link of DHS in conjunction with ICE, literally breaching people's houses. By the way, Andrew Cuomo, who just lost a bid for New York City governor, has joined a law firm to defend Benjamin Netanyahu against ICC charges. So, way to go, New York City. Way to not fuck it up. Um, holy shit. I just want to point this out. Um, oh, there are like less than 600 seats of government in the United States, split pretty evenly, I might add. And every single Republican took money from Russia, who is basically the enemy of the United States. Russia, Vladimir Putin, the Kremlin, put bounties on American soldiers hmm in Afghanistan, up to $250,000 per mission to kill Americans. Okay, so if you voted for this and you've got kids or friends or neighbors that are veterans that have friends or served with people that died in Iraq or Afghanistan, and you wonder why they don't want anything to do with you, there's your sign. Every Republican took money from Russia. 100 Democrats take money from AIPAC, Israel. And why, you ask? Why do all these elected officials take money from foreign governments? And it's because being an elected official in the United States frequently pays less than the jobs they come from. So it's a cash grab. They're taking money from whoever will get it. And the thing that's real bad, is that the IDF has been committing a genocide in Gaza. Free Palestine, right? 100 elected Democrats take money from AIPAC. Chuck Schumer has said his purpose is to keep the left pro-Israel. And guess what? We're not pro-Israel. And I just want to point out, Zohran Mamdani won the Democratic primary for mayor and is going to be the New York City mayor. And Andrew Cuomo, the guy that got second and said he's going to stay in the election, by the way, has just joined a law firm to defend Benjamin Netanyahu from the ICC. So when we sit around and we wonder why Benjamin Netanyahu's not being held accountable, now you can say, well, Andrew Cuomo works for him now. Morning, everybody. Make sure we throw that out there. Oh, here. Watch this video of how these motherfuckers act, too. I went to Israel 4 times. Eric Mayor will go there for the fifth time under your dime. Paraphrase Whitney Tilson, the billionaire. Yeah. You know what Israel represents? Israel represents people that calling themselves Christians and Jews, thinking that they're gonna go to heaven when they die, without ever having to take accountability for all the horrible things that they've done in the name of God, their God, your God in many cases. They just can't take accountability, so they go to fucking Israel. That's how these motherfuckers act. Is there aren't real men, and the reason the Democrats are so fucking quiet is because they're all tied up with AIPAC. Right? And you think about it, there's 100 elected officials take money from AI, 100 elected Democrats take money from AIPAC. 54 elected Democrats are part of a Blue Dog caucus. that votes conservatively. They're the loud conservative, the middle, right? We have to vote these people out of office. You have to get the people out of office that will take money from foreign governments. You have to get people out of office that will take money from foreign governments and will absolutely do the bidding of foreign governments. They are all assets. This includes Joe Biden. This includes Kamala Harris. This includes Hakeem Jeffries. I could continue, but that's the problem right there is that all those heavy hitters in the that represent the Democratic Party on the left, they all take money from AI PAC. There's no doubt about it. And here's the thing about Bernie. You're allowed to like Bernie and want to talk about Bernie, but here's what you're not allowed to do about Bernie. You're not allowed to deify a man who ignored the voices of black and brown women and men, who didn't give a fuck what people of color had to say. There's mounting evidence that a little bit of bigotry out of the old man. Mounting evidence. It's unfortunate. Really is unfortunate. Same thing with being pro-Israel. There's nothing else to say other than Israel's committing a genocide in Gaza. Free Palestine. Just like Russia illegally invaded Ukraine. Slava Ukraine. Absolutely zero doubt about it that. None. And there are people here in the United States, especially, that will give up all their morals and take money and then do a 180 and now they totally support Israel. Mhm. This is the the sum of the accomplishments of this administration. How about this administration has renamed the USS Harvey Milk the Oscar V. Peterson, taking the politics out of ship naming. Stupid. City of Miami voted 3-2. Postpone the city's November 2025 election to November 26 and move that extends the term of elected officials. It's a power grab. Florida Attorney General James Uthmire and Governor Ron DeSantis argued the city lacks authority to change the election date without voter approval, as the city charter requires odd-year elections and voter consent for amendments. However, City Attorney George Weissong cited a North Miami precedent upheld by the Third District Court of Appeals allowing such changes via commission vote. I can assure you it'll go to court, but yeah, you can see all the people there that voted to make that happen. They did it to continue to enrich themselves. This is the trial run. If they get away with it here, they're gonna try it in other places. I can promise you. Florida is just a testing ground, right? Even though you see Ron DeSantis saying like, no, you can't do that, right? I want to point out how racist Democrat Kristen Gillibrand has been toward um Zoran Mamdani. Hey, baby, will you eat your food? Eat your food, honey. Your food's right there. Eat your food. Oh, Karen's in here with me and she's not happy. Eat your food, honey. Top Democrats swearing to investigate. One of the things I want to point out about this Supreme Court ruling is that Donald Trump tries to issue executive orders that require universal injunction all the time, like 23 times since the start of this latest term. So I just want to point this out. Donald Trump hamstrung himself here. He's going to make it more difficult for him to get executive orders to do shit, right? Remember, I've tried to tell y'all, he's trying to rule by fiat, which is like he writes everything on a fucking napkin and expects it to become law. And that's not the way it works. Woke up at 4 again, spinning out inside a bit. They're supposed to have him in jail for my birthday. Right. But yeah, anybody calling for abject violence against this regime intends to commit none. And I want to just point out that if you think violence is the answer, you're a fucking coward because I don't see you out there committing any. So that makes you a fucking coward. And you should stop talking about shit you have no intention on doing. So if you aren't going to go out there and do shit and you ain't out there doing shit, stop talking about doing shit because you're not going to do shit. You're just inciting other people to do commit acts of violence, and that's not how you win. Over the course of history, acts of violence have gotten people arrested and killed, and this is a war of attrition. We need every single person. But I need every single person to be doing the right things, and if you're not doing the right things, what's the fucking point? Get off of Facebook, Threads, IG, WhatsApp, Messenger, Twitter. Stop shopping on Amazon. It's time to boycott and protest. And we've been talking about when is the time for a general strike. And I happen to think it's July 8th through 11th. If you're going to strike, I got half them days off anyway. Okay. Check your calendar now. But July 8th through 11th, okay, is Amazon Prime Days. You could absolutely fucking cripple Amazon if you just decide not to use their service on that day. Okay? On those days for 4 days from 8th, ninth, 10th and 11th, don't use Amazon. How hard is that? How hard is that? And people are out here like, "Oh, it's too hard to protest and boycott and strike," and like it's not. It's not. And people have said, "Oh, we'll never get anything done. Americans won't protest every day." And au contraire, here we are uh, almost two-thirds the way through our first 90 days of protest there in Washington, D.C. So you might not be protesting every single day, but there is an organized protest every single day in Washington, D.C. against this regime. That is a requirement. In order for a protest to be um, respected, it's got to be a consistent protest, right? And then there's just people that don't live there that are like, hey, Jared, I don't live in Washington, D.C. I want to protest. Clearly, Mayday ain't it. One. Only gamers could be just as big with this to be hard on Nintendo and other consoles abusing their control in the gaming industry. Hmm. Yeah, I want to make sure that my audience knows uh, I never have sat here and said anything is going to happen. I have not prognosticated at all. Everything that we're talking about is something that has already happened. That's why it's called the news. So if you've developed any kind of feelings towards me, understand that all you can judge me on is the fact that I show up every day and that I use high quality links to stories to talk about the news. And when I inject my own politics, there's no agenda here. I want everyone to have universal health care, education, income, and housing. And I even think that there's a path to that. And that's legalizing cannabis and making it into a cash crop for the United States. See, I think that there is a path forward to a better life for everybody. And I think it starts with investing in Americans and putting money in their pocket and taking care of them. And until we start electing people that don't take money from foreign governments and that are thinking of other people and not themselves and aren't trying to enrich themselves, I'll go so far as to say this, okay? I want elected officials to write books while they're in office. I want you to make money while you're in office, but I want you to do it legitimately. I want you to do it, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want you to insider trade. I don't want you to take money from AI Pack. I want you to profit off of public speaking and write a book. See, those things aren't treasonous. Those things aren't you taking money from a country that's committing a genocide that somehow has our politics in chokehold. Remember, Andrew Cuomo and oh, what's the other guy? Their whole job's to keep the Democratic Party pro-Israel. Because remember, once Israel loses the Democratic Party, down goes Israel in the Middle East. They don't have a partner there. They don't have someone to protect them. Remember, the United States was defending Israel when Iran retaliated. Remember that. Remember that Israel is not the military power without the United States' help. I don't know if that's exactly accurate, but people were protesting against Bezos holding his wedding, and yeah, people protested him hosting his wedding there, and they had to move it somewhere else. So, but yeah, a lot of you might spread the word. A lot of people are looking for direction when it comes to um, protest, and I think, and a lot of people, again, a lot of people are upset about the OpenAI and all these people getting um, commissioning into the U.S. military. I just want to point out Once you sign up for the military, you're subject to the Uniform Code of Military Justice, which is harsher than the way laws are set up in polite society. And I would argue that's actually a good thing. So there's going to be shit that they can't do. Hmm. Yep. You are more accountable when you're in the military than when you're not. And keep in mind when you join the military, you don't get rank. You earn rank. So those people that commission into the U.S. military, um, hey, Crush. All right, I'm reading. Ian Millhiser is a senior correspondent at Vox, where he focuses on the Supreme Court, the Constitution, and the decline of liberal democracy in the United States. He received a JD from Duke University. He's the author of two books on the Supreme Court. On Friday, the Supreme Court ruled that parents with religious objections to books with LGBTQ plus characters must be allowed to opt their children out of any public school instruction that uses those books. The decision, Mahmoud v. Taylor, was handed down along party lines with all six Republicans in the majority and all three Democrats in dissent. The Mahmoud case highlights the Republican justices' impatience to remake constitutional law in a more socially conservative image, especially in cases involving religion. It is certainly possible for public school instruction to violate a religious child's constitutional rights. The Constitution, for example, forbids government institutions like public schools from coercing students into violating their religious views. As Justice Samuel Alito notes in the Mahmoud opinion, the Constitution would also forbid teachers from openly mocking a student's faith. What teacher is openly mocking a student's faith? Uh, as federal appeals court, as a federal appeals court which previously heard the Mahmoud case warned, we don't actually know whether the Constitution was violated in this case. Although Montgomery County, Maryland approved several books with LGBTQ plus characters for use in public schools, the lower court found that the record in this case contains no information about how any teacher or school employee has actually used any of the storybooks in the parents' children's classrooms, how often the storybooks are actually being used, what any child has been taught in conjunction with their use, or what conversations have ensued about their themes. Shit, sorry. Sorry, we're trying a new feeding. Bruce is a little overweight and Karen's probably underweight. So we got to feed them individually. So that's why you may hear Karen whining because she's about 6 feet away from me, trying to feed her in the office. No, not at all. She's miserable. Glaring at me and shit. Sorry, I'm just talking to my wife. I appreciate y'all. Hey, we get um tomorrow we're back on TikTok. I just want to point out how fucking stupid this is. I just want to point out how fucking stupid this is. The Supreme Court made a decision that basically says your teacher can't mock your faith. And again, I would ask, what teacher is openly mocking a child's faith? When has that ever happened? Ever. In fact, in the case that they're referencing, it's unclear if that even happened. Do you see how this isn't a victory? This doesn't do anything. This isn't moving the needle for me. Yeah, yeah. So the whole point of this is so that parents can indoctrinate their kids, send them to school, and then the teachers can't say anything about how stupid it is that you filled your child's head with that nonsense. Hopefully they become a functioning fucking adult that's able to make good decisions, because lots of people stop fucking learning way too soon in life and instead say give Jesus the wheel and shit. And while I understand the power of faith to a degree, too people give faith too much power. So it'll be me making fun of people for being religious and being adults. Like, you're a fucking adult, grow up. There's no God. When you die, you're fucking worm food. You should find some meaning. You should leave a legacy. That's why I tell people to grow a garden and be really nice to your neighbors, right? I just want to make sure, Zeke, you understand that the lower court said it's unclear if that even ever happened. It's unclear, based on the decision that they made, if that ever even happened. It's a crazy time to be alive. The Supreme Court made a ruling in a case based on something that didn't happen. I think we need an enforceable code of ethics within the Supreme Court. I think we need limits to your term in the Supreme Court. I think people get a little batshit, and yeah, I think that um, no one is above the law, and no one should be above the law, and everyone should be fucking fireable. There should be absolutely no such thing as a lifetime appointment, unless you're like a judge. I think like a federal judge, like lifetime appointment, that kind of makes sense. But still not above the law and not unfireable. There should be no one unfireable. Hmm. Cease, I disagree. I believe the Federalist Society is why we're in this position. They've got a bunch of Supreme Court justices. They're eroding democracy. Remember the whole rub here. All these billionaires bought this election under the premise that they're going to hook up all the people that worked for them and help them get what they wanted. And then what happens? They fuck them over. As soon as this election, remember this. Remember this. The Republicans always are using the fucking police. Republicans always use the fucking police. What happened right after Donald Trump got inaugurated? What was one of the first things that happened? That's right. This administration stole from the police. And what happened right after that? Police were guarding Teslas. Do you remember that? Because that's the order of operations. First, Donald Trump got inaugurated. And then they stole $8.4 million from police. And then The police still showed up and fucking stood in front of Teslas and were like, hands off, right? So this just shows you how, look at that as a perfect example of somebody being abused, right? Somebody that's supposed to be your ally steals from you, and you still got to show up and guard their shit. Probably because they were going to get paid. They're off the clock working OT and shit. I know it was said before, but just really to take it all in. Zoran won by standing up to Israel, right? And I actually, you know what really pissed me off? What really pisses me off? Anyone with a platform that's pro-Israel. It's fucking absurd. Like if you're a Jewish person, I just pray for your safety. I don't care where you live. I just hope you're safe. Hey, Gaza does not belong to the Jews. Free Palestine. I hope I hope if Israel gets what it wants and it settles Gaza, I hope there's not a single day of peace. I hope there's bloodshed. I hope that region never sees peace. And I know it won't. You know how I know it won't? Because you're gonna build the Riviera on top of the bodies of all of the women and children you've killed. So if you're pro-Israel, you got blood on you. The only people that I know that are pro-Israel are people that I wouldn't leave alone in a room with a small child. Like as far as people that I personally know. And again, I want to make sure you understand this shit does not win. None of what this regime is doing is winning or growing. People are not turning and supporting this regime. It's not happening. I don't know that sometimes it feels like it, but that's just not the truth. Y'all know I had to take my dogs to the I had to take I took two dogs and a cat to the vet yesterday. Everybody was good. Um, yo, that crazy motherfucker killed um Melissa Hortman's dog too, Gilbert. Rest in peace, Gilbert. What a piece of shit, man. And I want to point out the shit about the University of Virginia president resigning. Normally, normally, uh, I cannot understand why someone would resign under pressure. Um, but I'm a learning. You resign so you can sue. Just so everybody has it fucking clear. I'm starting to figure out why the fuck would you resign if you're the president of the University of Virginia, for example, as the um, Trump administration has the Justice Department investigating Virginia for its um, diversity hiring. Um, So I understand why um, James Ryan resigned because of this statement. To make a long story short, I am inclined to fight for what I believe in, and I believe deeply in this university. But I cannot make a unilateral decision to fight the federal government in order to save my own job. To do so would not only be quixotic, but appear selfish and self centered to the hundreds of employees who would lose their jobs, the researchers who would lose their funding, and the hundreds of students who would lose financial aid or have their visas withheld. So yeah, I understand why people resign now. Well, they're trying to push through this budget bill. I don't know if y'all saw, but a bunch of shit got. I didn't know that when you're trying to pass a budget, there's a parliamentarian and there are rules, and they've struck a bunch of shit off of that budget bill. And I know it's like dark and hell is hot and shit and all, and like I get it. It's a it's tough, but you got to realize like they're losing their asses. What did it cost? She asked. Everything, he said. It's that moment in Avengers where Thanos is with his child and they're looking out at the universes, which are all planets exploding and fucking warring and shit like that, and it's all Thanos is doing, right? And he's already, this is after he's snapped his finger and half of everything is gone, right? And they're looking out at all the destruction that he's created, and she asks, like, was it worth it? Like, what did it cost? And he says everything. And it's gonna cost Elon everything. He's trying to beg his back way back in. Tesla's fucking losing all kinds of money. SpaceX is grounded. XAI is worthless. That shit is cratering, being held up by all these other rich people that are willing to hold up a stock price for him to save face. Yep. Well, see, somebody asked, CSAS, what is he just going to go to each university and attack them? Yeah, and they're going to resign and sue, and they're going to win. And then they're gonna have a great political career because you defeated Donald Trump. Yeah. So keep in mind, if you're the president of Virginia University of Virginia, UVA, you're at the top of your profession. One of the sickle cell researchers lost their funding, yeah. So I just want to make sure, like I said, we can have the perspective like, man, this shit sucks. We're allowed to have that. We're allowed to say that. But goddamn, they're losing. Like they're losing a lot, and they lose all the time, and they gain an inch, but they got to give up so much shit to get an inch, and it can all be undone. Nothing that is happening is forever, right? And I get it. There's a lot of people like, how do you expect to have elections and shit? Well, yep, yep. Like when you see when you're talking about cutting 17 billion dollars from the VA medical services budget, you're gonna have to explain that. And when you can't, it's gonna get struck from the bill. You can't just raise the debt ceiling. You can't just do that. And you can't put all those provisions in a bill because it's got the Senate parliamentarians gonna go over it. And they're gonna strike anything from it that would be a violation of someone's rights. Mhm. And here's Tommy Tuberville speaking as a Republican, being super racist. Inner city rats live off American taxpayers. I just want to point out that this is racist rhetoric, and I want to continue to point out that it's actually urban people that pay rural peoples for their services. So my taxes, as somebody that lives in Indianapolis, Indiana, they pay for rural Indiana services. So it's actually a major misconception that people that live in the inner city are poor and they don't contribute. Actually, there's a higher volume of people that live in a city, and as a result, there's more money per square mile in a city than there is in a rural area, and there's much more money generated per square mile in a city than out in the country. And so, even if you're rich and you live out in the country, all those stoplights and roads between you and the big city are maintained by the taxes from the paid by people that live in big cities. Yep, yep. And know that so the Supreme Court effectively is going to allow Donald Trump to try to move his attack on birthright citizenship forward. But one of the things that I noticed, um, what's happening is that even when they win, even when they win, they lose. So know that civil rights groups filed lawsuits as a result of that decision yesterday. The ACLU filed a class action lawsuit. As soon as that came down from the Supreme Court. They're going to lose that. Here's the way I think about it. If you don't see the ACLU get involved, don't worry about it. It's bad. It's bad when the ACLU is not right there. But know that as soon as that came down yesterday, the ACLU filed a class action lawsuit and other lawsuits are filed. So you don't file lawsuits on a whim. See, Donald Trump does that shit. So know when Donald Trump's being sued, he's losing. He's losing that shit. So remember that I told you his uh his version of deportation is not legal. It's not actually deportation. It's called rendition. What Donald Trump is doing is attacking the smallest population groups first. There's a reason that this administration has written legislation taking trans kids out of sports because trans people are one of the smallest population groups in the United States. Why did he go after Venezuelans next? One of the smallest population groups in the United States. What we need our next Democratic president needs to take away immunity from the president. That should be the goal of the next Democratic president is to make it so that we can hold the president accountable during their time in office. If you do some fuck shit, I want to be able to hold you accountable. I think that something's got to be done in terms of, for example, um, the president being able to appoint a head of the FBI. The FBI, the CIA, the entire Department of Justice should not be wielded by the president as a weapon against the people. And I think the next Democratic president has to take the next steps of protect democracy, safeguard the people from the president, right? Remember what Donald Trump has done in office, enrich himself and attack his enemies, his political enemies. Uh, these things are abnormal. Normal presidents don't act like this. They're not petty like this. You know what I'm saying? Um, and again, Donald Trump will be held accountable. My fear is that he won't be here. That's how I really feel. Hmm. Yeah. But I think it kind of goes without saying, you gotta eliminate immunity for the president. You gotta de-weaponize the DOJ. Kamala said he'd come for people. Yeah, he did. He did. But here's the thing though. Kamala Harris took a lot of money from AI PAC. So did Joe Biden. And their silence about the genocide in Gaza is why she's not in power. If she didn't take money from AI PAC and she was really outspoken against what's going on there, I bet you she's in power. I bet you people come out in force and vote for her. Now, she did say she was for a ceasefire, but again, I just want to point out, you can't sit around and talk about legitimizing the Israeli state. What are we talking about? Just got an update, haven't been investigated. Matt Gaetz had a bunch of text messages released. Yes. So Matt Gaetz was on a airplane, and the person behind him started videoing him, first of all, with super large text on his phone, like he's a grandpa, um, and basically said he was advising Trump. So remember, loose lips sink ships, right? Nobody asked, but I think that decision in terms of Miami suspending its election for a year, I think that'll get overturned. And then I do think in terms of DHS and ICE using explosives on an American citizen's door as a retaliation for embarrassing them the day before is weak, and all those people should be punished for abuse of power. Like, first of all, you would never use that. You would never use explosives to enter someone's abode. Just how, like, you're not house clearing. You're going in to make an arrest. Is he advising on how to get teen girls? Right? No, you can tell that Donald Trump only surrounds himself with yes men, and as a result, a lot of the shit they do is dumb. A lot of what they do is stupid, and it doesn't work. Hey, prices are going up. This is the perfect time to strike here this first week of July. Yeah. No, they took video, Stacy. Yeah, I watched the video of him scrolling through a text with his mom. Yeah. Given that he doesn't appear to wear glasses. Yo, Yemen, they straight up protest. Another Million Man March. Somebody put a golden television out front of the U.S. Capitol showing it's got a giant golden television and it shows him dancing with Epstein. The system is yeah, as I've said before, I smell people in ICE custody escaping ICE custody. Um, but I just posted a link to a Guardian article about an ICE detainee dying, someone who been in the United States for 40 years, dying in transit. But I also want to point out that at least one Canadian has died, and I can think of a story about nine other people having died in ICE custody. And remember, she said, why was his phone on a plane? Well, I'm guessing they were on the ground, right? If he had it out and on, it's probably before or after they were allowed to. Plus, lots of cell phone carriers, you could just buy the internet on the plane and have access to your phone on the plane too. But yeah, I've been pointing it out here. ICE is about out of money, and they're full of people, and they're supposed to open this alligator Alcatraz, and I'm just telling you, it's been so goddamn hot here in Indianapolis, Indiana, that people are just gonna die in mass. I think the Dodgers World Series. No, I'm wearing a Dodgers hat because they repelled ice. They are the best team in baseball, though. So there's that. Yeah, we just had our hottest week. Yep. And keep in mind, it's not even in July yet. So what's going to happen is people are going to start unaliving, and the pressure is going to build on ice real quick. And I'm hearing rumblings that the next protest is on July 4th. Yeah. Community cookout. So yeah, I believe is a women's march. Yep. You can be on your phone on the ground and when you're cruising. Can't you be on your phone on takeoff and landing? Yeah. Unless you have the onboard internet and you turn your phone off so it's not using the towers anymore, right? One agent flashed the badge of citizen so you can buy one on the internet. Hmm. Yep, looks like here's I'm just looking at protest finder 50501, right? It looks like there's a protest July 4th and July 17th. Um, Good Trouble Day, a couple days before my birthday. By the way, my birthday, for all of you that are, oh no, for all of you that are buying me presents, um, my birthday's a month, basically 4 weeks from today, 3 weeks from today, 5th, 12th, 9th, 19th. Yeah, my birthday's in 3 weeks. Yep. Yep. Crush said our birthday. My apologies, Crush. It is our birthday. Um, the daddy shit kills me. Mag is bankrupt, just not. Let me explain to you how. I only ever called my old man daddy, uh, not in his earshot, and only ever in passing. Like my daddy didn't raise me like that. Not that's what you actually call the person. You know what I'm saying? Like I wouldn't even call that man dad. I'd probably say Ken first. See if he even fucking responds to that shit. And then I don't even know what the fuck dad's gonna do if Ken doesn't ring a bell, right? But I say all of that to say, given that I don't speak to my old man, I sure as fuck ain't calling anybody else daddy. That's for fucking sure. But it explains what is wrong with everybody on the right. It explains what's wrong. They they have daddy issues. Bob said he turns 45 on the 30th. Redneckin says morning from North Carolina morning. My brothers never call my father daddy, but dad. Yeah. I've never even thought to call someone daddy. Yeah. But given that my parents are cheerleading this regime, I certainly won't be calling them at all, much less calling them mommy and daddy. Oh, I do have some exciting news that I'm excited about. You don't have to be excited about. Um, I think my wife's gonna download Final Fantasy 14 and play online with me. It's fucking awesome. It's like, in my opinion, Final Fantasy 14, which is a MMO, it's a massively on multiplayer online RPG. Okay, it costs money to play. You're gonna have to buy the game. You're gonna have to pay monthly to play it. Best music, not even close. Um, Yesterday I turned the graphics on 4K, and it is a modern video game now. Um, I just beat Copperbell Mine, which is like a level 30 dungeon. Um, great, great damn game. My wife's gonna play. It's a social game. Um, it's like a Cowboy Bebop space opera drama, space opera drama, and it's very political. Hmm. Like today, I had a conversation, and the NPC said, if you peer through the veil, you peer through the veil of happiness, you'll see nothing but. Hold on. Like, come on, tell me this isn't us. We'll play it. Once you peer through the veil of prosperity, it's all pain and suffering. Uh, I have never wanted to like create a create a community. Um, but like I said, when you play Final Fantasy 11 and you start paying attention to like the story and shit, ah, this is why it's cost $15 a month because nobody would do this shit. Sorry, get back on. But yeah, I think that literally anyone can play Final Fantasy. It's super easy to play, and it's even better with a group of people. And we'll talk while we play and shit, and I'll start a new character so I can play through with you. But I'll also play with my wife, play by myself. It's just I've known I was wanted to play it for a long time. Jesus Christ. See, because if we don't, we're gonna lose our minds talking about this shit. Here's IDF soldiers ordered to shoot. Final Fantasy 1 through Final Fantasy 6 need to be redone. Yeah, we've been talking about that forever, man. I love Final Fantasy. Um, I've beat every one of them. I'm also a big Zelda fan, so Final Fantasy and Zelda. The time I was a little kid. Hmm. Hmm. Yep, my dad used to tell me to get my head out of the clouds when I was a little kid. I wanted to be an astronaut. And these motherfuckers, man. My dad wanted me to play Flight Simulator and the Top Gun video game all the time. Because he's like, you're gonna be either a transport pilot or a fighter pilot. Mhm. Yeah, I'm a child. Oh my God, Crush said Zelda. Listen, listen, listen. You gotta play the new ones. They're incredible. So like a lot of people grew up on Zelda. There are two modern Zeldas that are otherworldly. What a great couple of games. Um, I would also recommend Elden Ring if you want like a solo player modern RPG that it just touches all the notes, does all the things. Yeah, one of the ways I've maintained uh my persona without turning into something I don't want to become um is maintaining my childlike wonder. I'll never stop playing video games. I'll never stop playing, I keep saying I'm gonna stop playing Magic. But that's the only reason I say that is because I can't afford it as a hobby. Not because I don't want to play it anymore. I want to play professionally. I want to travel. I love to travel. My wife doesn't, so it gives me an opportunity to move like I move. You know what I'm saying? Well, you don't know what I'm saying, but and by the way, I got a big recommendation from one of my well-off clients. Um, One of my clients is like really wealthy, and one of the ways they've maintained their wealth over time, kind of despite what's happened with the economy, is they lease cars. And yeah, I love Bubble Bobble. I was one of those kids, gaming was my hobby, right? Like I played sports and school was never difficult for me, so my parents were like, "You could, what do you want? Like you're a good kid, what do you need?" Video games. And of course my dad grew to hate it. Um, They really do some doo doo. They really do some dumb shit. It's absolutely insane. Why would you tell someone trying to seek asylum to go to Honduras and Guatemala instead of coming to the United States? I just want to point out most of the time when people leave where they're from and come to the United States, it's because they're in search of a better life. And why wouldn't you want someone here that was trying to escape, you know, a bad life for a better life here? Why wouldn't you want people to want to be here that are trying to get away from something horrible? Capiche? Do y'all even know how to spell capiche? Is that how you spell capiche? No. So here's the thing. GE Appliances moves washing machine production from China to Kentucky. Hey, this just means Kentuckians are going to get exploited. Capire is how you spell it. Did what? Mm-mm. It's capisce. Capisci means to understand in Italian. People typically spell it. Here's the correct spelling of capiche. Here's an alternative spelling. You're all welcome for your level one Italian, your level one Italian lesson for the day. Um, I wrote three terms: capisci, which means to understand, and then the two more common uses of the term capiche and capiche, spelled how the Here's Merriam-Webster Dictionary. I sincerely doubt it. It's Capire. Oh, it's like an unconjugated verb. It's an Italian irregular verb meaning to understand. The third conjugation Italian verb group. And so it's like that's like the base word. Latin is capere, Capere, by the way. Hmm. This is the Latin form. Capire? No. Capere, probably? Capiche. Anyway, I think pretty important show today. Boycott, protest, strike is on the menu. Go to Mayday if you're going to be in DC. Go to 5051 or Indivisible if you're going to be anywhere else. Yeah, Italian is one of those romance languages. Hey, good morning, North Carolina. I hope you're all staying safe. I was stationed in Camp Lejeune in Jacksonville in Onslow County. All right, I've been here about an hour and a half. Went through a ton of stuff today, right? Um, Started out every show, a little bit of war. What's it good for, right? Finish up with a little bit of eat the rich and get out of here. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, have a great day, everybody. Stay safe out there. Reach out if you're feeling some type of way. I know it feels like every day something happens where you could just see people spiraling. There's no fucking sense in doing it because it's the same thing that happens when it happens to Donald Trump. He appeals. Anything he accomplishes, it's gonna get appealed. He's gonna lose. He's gonna lose. The ground he made yesterday, he will lose. It's like when he won the election and the Republicans have the House and the Senate and the Supreme Court, sorry, and the presidency, and they have accomplished fuck all. Think about what you could have been doing 6 months in. What have we got? Dick. They have accomplished absolutely motherfucking nothing. And we sit around all day and we're like, oh, it's the erosion of our rights and liberties and laws. And what the fuck has he actually done? Because those executive orders and presidential orders akin to a memo cannot be used. So like you can't go do some shit in the name of this executive order and then go to court and be like, "Oh, but Donnie told me to in this EO." That's not how that works. Executive orders and presidential orders, they're not law. That's a bill that's got to be built and passed. That's not happening. They're not writing bills like he writes EOs. So I just want to make sure. I know it sounds like they're stomping all over us, but they're fucking losers. They're fucking losers. They're stupid losers. Like stupid people that are not smart enough to be in the position they're in. Look at fucking Hegseth. You really think that guy's like accomplishing some shit? They renamed a boat. They're renaming bases. The fuck? He's being kept out of conversations with the president. Like that the regime in power right now is fractured. They're not working together. They're not talking. It's every man for himself. Look at fucking you know who the one that makes me be like, "Oh my God. Look at Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's the one pointing out like, "Hey, all this shit's fucking wrong. This is not what my constituents want." Yeah, yeah. Hey, 60 plus thousand people in ICE detention, half of them with no prior criminal record, and a good portion of those being American citizens. It fucking drives me up a wall too, because it could be you. It could be you, it could be me, right? But I can I'm this close. What I'm making sure I'm doing is I'm making sure I'm being very careful not to incite law enforcement or ICE to look at me. I'm just saying what they're doing is fucking wrong. That they frequently operate without warrant. They don't have a badge. They don't even have real bullets in their guns. All they have is numbers on you. Typically, there's four of them or more. And they're attacking large or small population groups. What that tells me is people that live in a community but don't live in a community. So you got to get to know your neighbors. It's that simple. You got to know who you can run to and who will turn you into ice. It's that fucking simple. Because you can better believe that there's a whole lot of people in your neighborhood that would turn you into ice to save themselves. Whole lot of fucking people. And I know it doesn't, like, holy shit, man. I know it doesn't feel good when you think about this regime. But what I think about is what comes after this regime. They already elected a Democratic Socialist. Well, they're going to elect a Democratic Socialist to be the mayor of New York City. I'm eventually I'll have the money to also foot the startup cost for the American Socialist Party. And I'm telling you, I have to make sure that I protect myself before I do that. And that's part of the reason we're moving how we're moving. Slow and steady. But anyway, have a great rest of your day. We'll see you tomorrow. 1.3, 1 point, 1,300 unique viewers on Clapper. People say it's TikTok or nothing. And it's like, no.